Welcome back to GMP Scenario, presented by PharmaContentLabs.com, where we break down common GMP mistakes, inspection risks, and the small control gaps that turn into big observations.
All right, picture this. A quality auditor is in your facility, reviewing your shiny new electronic batch record system. Everything looks amazing. It's clean, modern, super efficient. All the signatures are there, the approvals look complete. You're thinking, yeah, we've totally nailed this. And then the auditor turns and asks one simple question that completely changes the temperature in the room. And that's it. That's the big one. How you answer that question and, more importantly, how you prove your answer. That can be the difference between a nice, smooth audit and a massive compliance nightmare. So today, we are going to break down what that question really means and how to make sure you've always got the right answer ready to go. So let's go back to our audit scenario. And listen, this isn't just some made-up story. This is something that plays out in life sciences companies all the time. When the auditor asks about Part 11, the team feels pretty good about it. They turn to the IT department, who gives a really common and really dangerous reply. Ah, yes, the classic. We have logins, everyone has a password, we're secure, we're compliant. I mean, it seems logical, doesn't it? But this right here is probably the single biggest misunderstanding when it comes to electronic signature compliance, and it's a mistake inspectors are literally trained to look for.
But see, when the quality assurance team decided to, pull on that thread a little bit, that confident answer from IT started to completely fall apart. The system just wasn't as solid as they thought, and the cracks were definitely starting to show.
And that whole facade just crumbled, and fast. They found stuff like super weak passwords, and worse, shared user accounts, which makes it impossible to know who actually did what. The audit trail, the system's official history, well, an admin could just turn it off. And on top of all that, there was zero documentation to prove the system even worked the way it was supposed to, or what a signature even meant. Was it a review, an approval? Nobody could say for sure.
So here's the bottom line. All those little problems add up to one giant thing, a compliance failure. And what that means is your electronic records, they can't be trusted as legal, GMP, or good manufacturing practice evidence. The data's authenticity, its integrity, it's all in question. And that is a massive, massive problem.
So why is this such a big deal, really? Well, it's not just about ticking a box for an auditor. The risks here are very real, and they can be severe. We're talking about things like FDA warning letters, incredibly expensive product recalls, and in the worst cases, consent decrees that can literally shut down your operations. And it all comes from this fundamental gap between what companies think is okay and what inspectors actually demand.
And this slide just illustrates that gap perfectly. You might say, hey, we use modern, up-to-date software. The inspector just looks at you and says, I don't care. Show me the evidence. They don't take vendor claims or a slick user interface as proof of anything. They want cold, hard, documented proof that your system in your facility is fully under control. So what does that evidence actually look like? Well, they need to see documented proof for every single one of these points. They'll ask you to prove that every single user is unique. They'll challenge you to show them that your audit trails can't be edited or deleted. They are going to want to see that validation report that proves the system does what you say it does. And they'll want to trace any signature they pick back to a specific person at a specific time for a very specific reason. And if you can't provide that proof, the fallout is huge. It's not just one batch record that's in trouble now. The inspector has every right to question the integrity of every single piece of data in that entire system. All of a sudden, years of work, all that data, and all those product release decisions are at risk of just being invalidated.
Okay, so that's the problem. It's serious, I get it, but it is absolutely solvable. The path to real 21 CFR Part 11 compliance isn't some big secret. You can actually break it down into a really clear, manageable, 3-step framework. So let's walk through it. The framework is pretty simple, right? First, you got to define your scope. Second, you implement the controls you need. And third, you validate the whole system to prove that it works like it's supposed to. Let's see how this builds, one step at a time. All right, step 1 is all about focus. You need to figure out which of your systems actually fall under Part 11. Are you using them to create, modify, or store GMP records? Do they use electronic signatures? And, crucially, are these the records you use to make big decisions, like releasing a product? If you're answering yes, then guess what?
that system is in scope. So once you know your scope, it's time to implement the right technical and procedural controls. This is where you actually fix all the problems from our audit gone wrong story. You enforce unique user IDs with strong passwords. You set up role-based access so people only see and do what's absolutely necessary for their job. You make sure the audit trails are always on and can't be changed. And you formally write down in your policies exactly what a signature means. And finally, step 3 is validation. This is where you actually generate the evidence that the inspector is going to demand to see. You document all your requirements, you test the system against them, and you prove that all those controls you just put in place are working correctly. You're confirming everything from signature traceability all the way to data retention. And if there is one golden rule that cuts across all 3 of these steps, it is this. In the world of compliance, if it wasn't written down, it simply didn't happen. Your procedures, your policies, your testing, your assessments, all of it needs to be documented, approved, and ready for review at a moment's notice. And this slide gives you a fantastic checklist of what that documentation library should look like. You need that initial Part 11 assessment that defined your scope, an inventory of all your relevant systems, the full validation package with all the testing evidence, a crystal clear signature policy, and procedures for managing who has access and how you review your audit trails. This binder, this collection of documents, this is your proof. So let's bring this all home. We've looked at the problem, we've seen the risks, and we've walked through the solution. Now let's just focus on the single most important takeaway to make sure you stay on the right side of compliance. And here it is again, because honestly, it is that important. The simple act of logging into a piece of software is not Part 11 compliance. It's just the first, most basic step. Real compliance is about the entire ecosystem, the controls, the procedures, and all the documented evidence that proves your electronic records are totally trustworthy. Inspectors know this is a common point of confusion, and I promise you, they will absolutely challenge you on it. So I'm going to leave you with the same question that an inspector will ask, whether out loud or just in their head when they walk through your door. Looking at your systems, your controls, and your documentation, can you say with 100% confidence that your electronic record can stand as legal GMP evidence?
If this helped, like and subscribe.